48-year-old distributor for mobile phone company from Andhra Pradesh's Guntur recounted moments before the boat capsized. The incident happened around 1:30 p.m. local time. He said the boat had gone barely 300-400 meters when it tipped over. We were taking pictures and it happened before we could react. The boat had hardly left the island. We were all screaming for help, he added. Belly, yes, of course, those accounts being coming in from the eyewitnesses. But what really made their rescue so difficult? Because this is a busy area. There were other boats also plying. What really made it so difficult for other boats there to rescue those people who were drowning?
Kriti, sources as of now indicate that as soon as this boat capsized, that is, it overturned. It didn't sink or anything. It stayed in that same place wherein they felt that a lot of people who were inside the boat was trapped, underneath the capsized boat. And that made the rescue operations very difficult and complicated. So what we are given to understand that within minutes the other boats had reached near the closer to this particular boat that has capsized, and they kind of spotted all these people who are floating and pulled them to safety. However, they didn't exactly know as to how many people were underneath. So it took some time for people to actually dive in to see what had happened underneath this particular boat. And when that operation had started, we are given to understand that they spotted a lot of people trapped, and they were kind of stuck inside, unable to come out of that particular overturned boat is what the authorities gather. However, the clarity of what caused the boat to remain at that position and what made these tourists trapped underneath is subject matter to investigation. And we can kind of go through with the eyewitnesses account to know the entire, the timeline of this particular incident with what the eyewitness account who survived says. Like you said, Ashish Kumar, who is a 48-year-old distributor of a mobile phone company from Andhra Pradesh, said that the tourists were divided into batches and ferried to the island as part of a company outing. So they had all gone out there as sellers, distributors, and employees of the Lava Mobile. They reached Vietnam on July 9th and were supposed to return to India on Sunday morning. According to Ashish, one of the three boats carrying 32 Indian tourists had left the Horn May route Ngoi Island for another island, which the remaining two groups were still on the Horn May Rut, Ngoi, taking photographs. So the incident happened around 1:30 p.m. Local time. The boat had gone barely 300 to 400 meters when it tipped over. The tourists were busy taking pictures, and it had happened before we could react. So this is the correct eyewitness account of Ashish Kumar. So you can imagine if they are taking pictures of the scenery, they should be around close to the railings standing of this boat, and when the boat had capsized, probably the other part of the boat would have come and covered them from the other side, making them, kind of getting stuck underneath the boat without access to either side. So these are the kinds that are the probabilities that would have caused these the tourists, especially who were stuck underneath this boat, could have experienced this, what authorities hint at. So the boat had hardly left the island. They were all screaming for help, is what Ashish says, and adding that the weather conditions were not that adverse is also indicates. So there was some kind of wind, but that was expected in an island. And he said rescue teams reached the spot soon after and brought the survivor's body back to the shore, but claimed that no medical teams were immediately available. So the rescue teams got active and the bodies were brought back. However, there were no medical teams even to administer CPR, is what we are getting from another eyewitness account. So they were all in a state of shock. Basically, some of them would have drank water, some of them would have, their lungs would have, filled with water. They would need a kind of medical attention immediately after they have been rescued. But this didn't happen in this case, is what we gather to know from eyewitness accounts here. And Coming to another statement of the same eyewitness, a distributor friend I know was traveling with his wife on his boat. His wife has died while he
Right.
is fighting for life in a hospital.
It's all
So this is
unfortunate, Belly. Of course, I requested to stay on with me. We are getting